Hexagram 42. Increasing. The judgment. Increasing. It furthers one to undertake something. It furthers one to cross the great water. Thank you for coming here to listen to this. And if you're new, I read from the I Ching, the Oracle of the Cosmic Way. It's a different version of the I Ching. And at the end, after I do the lines, I do a contemplation about weaving in the body, weaving in the 5 personality patterns, weaving in intergenerational relationships, weaving in what we know about how the body holds trauma, how the body can access survival patterns and common senses that tend to get locked down through various means, which this I Ching reveals. I'll do my best to stick to this version of the I Ching. Sometimes I might feel like I want to riff in the moment, or I'll stop and highlight a section that I want to come back to later. If you're new, welcome. If you're casual, hey, thank you so much for swinging by and listening. And if you're a regular, I really appreciate your patronage and your support in not only liking, sharing, and commenting and subscribing if you haven't already, but just you giving your time and energy to this. Because of all the content out there, you're choosing to metabolize and ingest this. So here we go. The harmonious activities of the cosmos are directed toward increasing all parts of the cosmic whole. Increasing the welfare of the whole is a cosmic principle that reveals the loving and caring nature of the cosmos. This understanding is at odds with the assumptions made by Western science that cosmic resources are limited and that human effort or manipulation is necessary to overcome this shortfall. This is only true inasmuch as people have separated themselves from their original unity with the cosmos by adopting mistaken ideas and beliefs about its true nature. In assuming that nature requires correction or improvement, humans have created a parallel reality that is characterized by lack. This hexagram is a statement that a person can reunite with the cosmos and participate in its constant flow of gifts if he undertakes something, meaning if he rids himself of the mistaken ideas and beliefs that slander the gift-giving nature of the cosmos. For a list of these ideas, see below. It furthers one to undertake something can also be a statement to encourage a person to follow his goal. He has available from the cosmos all the help he needs to do what he is meant to do, even though he has been doubting it. It is now a matter of recognizing how the goal is to be accomplished. This is addressed in the next sentence of the judgment. It furthers one to cross the great water. Means that the person needs to go as far as he can with his own efforts and then turn the matter over to the helpers for completion, for it is only they that can complete the crossing. An example is the violinist who practices and perfects his technique and studies the phrasing in preparation for performing, but when the time for performing comes, he asks the helpers to guide and help him in the performance. Crossing the great water with the help of the helpers is like being carried across, even though one first had to learn how to swim. It is only through this joint approach that the great deeds mentioned in line 1 can be accomplished. This is true not only for the performing and other arts, but for all creative activity, healing, discoveries, business activities, sports, agriculture, crafts, finding solutions to problems, etc. Activity that is accomplished jointly with the helpers succeeds because it gives expression to a person's uniqueness and benefits the cosmic whole. The aid of the helpers is essential to all activities that lead to increase, because they alone are able to make the transformations in the atomic realm that give actuality to what is potential. This potential first exists as a feeling, then as an image in the invisible world of thinking consciousness. The helper of transformation performs the functions of manifesting this image into the actuality of form, and of giving it duration in a way that benefits the whole. The helper of transformation is also the helper of increase. This helper is attracted to the person who recognizes his place as an equal in the cosmic whole and who sincerely seeks, through activity that benefits the whole, to bring his best effort to that activity. In this way, he satisfies his own needs well. The whole is not only the common good for people, but for nature as well. The collective ego, on the other hand, defines increase as acquiring wealth, luxury, power, fame, and knowledge. This kind of increase serves only the few and decreases the whole. It further denigrates the whole because it is only human-oriented. In cosmic terms, such activity is stealing because it is never achieved with the help of the helpers, but is wrested out of people and nature. It invariably has a fate attached that will eventually take away the gain. The person receiving this hexagram may need to examine where he is looking for the increase he seeks. Is he looking to the cosmic helpers, or to luck, or his own powers? Is his goal in harmony with the cosmos? Does his desire for increase come from the mistaken idea that the cosmos does not give him what he needs? Does it come from envy of others who seem to be better off? Is he in the habit of thinking poor, as in thinking that either he is unworthy to have enough money and goods to live a happy life, or that to have money and goods is materialistic, therefore aspiritual? All these views are not in harmony with the gift-giving nature of the cosmos. If the person finds any of these ideas during this inquiry, he will also have found the blockages he needs to deprogram before the helper of increase can become his companion. See page 540, Freeing Yourself from Mistaken Ideas and Beliefs. Spells and poison arrows connected with this hexagram are formed by all those phrases that slander, misunderstand, or ignore the gift-giving and caring nature of the cosmos, and its ability to create increase without decreasing any of its parts. Sample phrases are, "The cosmos does not busy itself with such mundane things as money. The cosmos does not care about an individual's private needs. I'm just a drop in the bucket. If you want success, you have to make it happen. Everything has a price. Hard work is the only way to achieve great things. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. You sometimes have to cheat to make success happen. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You get what you pay for. There can be no increase without decrease. And for everything you get, there's a price to be paid." See page 550, Deprogramming Procedure. And here are the lines. Line 1. One is furthered by great deeds. Supreme good fortune, no blame. This line is about increase that comes through the helpers. Either a person has been increased or is about to be increased, but there remains an if. This if has to do with the person's obstructing ideas about the way the cosmos gives gifts. He may think that he must accomplish great deeds in exchange for receiving gifts from the cosmos, as if the cosmos requires being paid back. This idea puts a spell on the cosmos, preventing it from being able to give the gifts intended. When a person is in harmony with the cosmos, he receives its gifts freely, without strings attached, because they are the cosmic response to a person's modesty. The person drawing this line needs to rid himself of any mistaken idea he holds about the way the cosmos gives gifts. Doing so frees the helpers to bring him the supreme good fortune mentioned in this line. It is the helpers and not humans that accomplish the great deeds that increase the whole. Their deeds are great because they add to the well-being of the whole and have duration. To the person who has already received a cosmic gift, this line is telling him that he is meant to enjoy the gift but not use it for ego purposes, as happens when he allows the ego to boast that he has deserved it. No blame means that the cosmos is not to be blamed when humans use the cosmic gifts for egotistical purposes. It is also saying to the person who serves as a vehicle for a cosmic gift, when you pass on a cosmic gift, give it without strings, then you are free of blame. This line can refer to a person who has called on the sage for help, and whose energy of will has been consequently increased. Great deeds can come from this increase if he uses it to follow his inner truth and not to squander it for egotistical purposes such as to achieve fame, power, personal gain, or any other benefit to his vanity. Gain will come to him in all forms from the cosmos if he only concentrates on following his inner truth. Still another meaning of one is furthered by great deeds is the furtherance a person receives when he rids himself of the human-centered view of the universe, perseveres in decreasing the ego in himself and in others, and is sensitive to others' needs for the inner nourishment that enables them to grow. When receiving this line before an undertaking that involves other people, it indicates that the person needs to call on the sage in his own presence and in the other people's presence to prepare the situation. Then the sages can take over and guide the affairs. The sage also draws the other cosmic helpers that are needed to create results that have duration. Line 2. Someone does indeed increase him. 10 pairs of tortoises cannot oppose it. Constant perseverance brings good fortune. The king presents his offering to God, good fortune. Someone does indeed increase him is saying to a person that the increase he has just received has come as a gift from the cosmos and not, as he may have thought, from another source, such as his efforts, his skill, luck, the beneficence of a person, or as a blessing from heaven, despite all superficial evidence to the contrary. The people he may regard as the source of the gift are only serving as vehicles for the cosmic generosity. The tortoise is a reference to the ancient imperial practice of consulting the tortoise oracle before offering sacrifices to heaven in order to obtain good fortune. When this line was received, it was taken as a favorable sign. When taken as a metaphor, the line can be indicating that a person mistakenly believes that the sage requires sacrifices in exchange for blessings. Such thinking is not in harmony with the cosmos and blocks the gifts the sage wants to give him in the form of insights. The sage does not make deals or demand tribute in exchange for its gifts. In a broader sense, anyone who looks upward as to heaven, where the dead supposedly go, or to a God created in man's image, looks in the wrong direction and knocks on the wrong door. To unlock the door to the helpers, which are the true source of the gifts, a person needs to rid himself of the belief that the blessings come from a divine source. He is called by this line to rid himself of the whole imagined structure of heaven and of any higher beings that humans have put in place of the cosmic consciousness and its invisible helpers. See page 534, Activating the Helpers of the Invisible World, and page 540, Freeing Yourself from Mistaken Ideas and Beliefs. This line can also make a person aware of the cosmic qualities and talents he has come with at birth as cosmic gifts. The collective ego would deny that he has them in order to appropriate and turn them to its purposes. It does this by asserting that he needs to imitate positive qualities in others. A person may receive this line in response to his thinking that he does not possess such cosmic qualities or talents. This line is saying, you have all the gifts and help within yourself, but you are blocking them with your doubt. It is also saying, look within and ask within for the help you need. Constant perseverance brings good fortune can have two meanings. It can refer to the good fortune that comes from appreciating one's innate qualities and abilities and asking for help from the helpers of the invisible world. It can also refer to constantly looking for good fortune to come based on the idea, it will come if only I persevere long enough. Perseverance is putting one's hopes in the sheer quality of perseverance. Saying this again, perseverance in putting one's hopes in the sheer quality of perseverance only brings misfortune. This line can also be about a person's trying to obtain cosmic gifts through imitating others who have received them, although have followed the conventional ways to success. Say that line again. This line can also be about a person's trying to obtain cosmic gifts through imitating others who have received them, although have followed the conventional ways to success. Such a person sees others as possessing some secret formula that he can emulate, envying what others have created, envying what others have created. Say that again. Envying what others have creates problems both for himself and for the person on whom he projects his envy. Every person comes with unique gifts and talents that want to be brought to expression in a unique way. By enviously looking at others, he is distracted from freeing his own gifts and talents from the inner prisons of doubt and fear that keep them fixed in spells. Another trick of the collective ego to keep a person from recognizing his own inner treasures is the idea that he needs to develop supernatural abilities to communicate with the cosmos. See page 546, What are projections, spells, and poison arrows? Line 3. One is enriched through unfortunate events. No blame if you are sincere and walk in the middle and report with a seal to the prince. One is enriched through unfortunate events refers to a person who has been enriched by the cosmos, but the gift has a fate attached. He has received what he has attached to having. Say that again. He has received what he was attached to having, but through the decrease of others. Money may have been the object of his desire, and he has now received it. However, because his motives were not correct, blame was attached and a fate created. This blame can be extinguished if he is sincere in allowing himself to be guided by the helper of increase to use the money to benefit the cosmic whole. Reporting with a seal to the prince means that he has to account for using the gift in harmonious ways. Say that again. Reporting with a seal to the prince means that he has to account for using the gift in a harmonious way. The prince is a metaphor for the helper that helps a person move his fate in the right direction. If he does so, his fate will be extinguished. The cosmic principle explained by this line is that the cosmos can use the fate of one person, which has decreased him, to increase another by giving him a gift, to enable him to correct his wrong view that the cosmos is stingy and does not giving him what he needs to enjoy his life. He can employ the RTCM to find out what a correct use of the gift would be. If, however, he does not recognize the purpose of the gift and uses it to support the ego in him, he will experience the loss of the gift. In the same way, a person may receive healing from the cosmos as a gift, even though his desire to be healed was only to get rid of the pain or disgrace or other disadvantage connected with the illness. This line is to make him aware that his healing was given on the condition that he recognize it as a gift from the cosmos and respect it accordingly, by maintaining a sincere attitude. It is also to make him aware that he needs to rid himself of his vanity if his healing is to endure. A different example is a person who, through his sincere effort to eradicate the phrases behind his illness, has been healed as a gift from the cosmos. After being healed, however, he returns to the arrogant attitudes he formerly held, such as thinking his healing was due to his deserving it, that he had a right to be healed, or that now he can act as he pleases, as when, after recovering from a respiratory illness, the person returns to smoking pot or other abuse of his body. His conflict with the cosmos remains until he understands the responsibility that goes with the gift, to respect the gift-giving nature of the cosmos. If he does not learn the lesson, but continues to jeopardize his health, fate snatches it away from him again and again, as line 6 of Hexagram 6, conflict, describes. His conflict can be ended if he recognizes the pattern created by his mistaken ideas and rids himself of them. See page 540, Freeing Yourself from Mistaken Ideas and Beliefs. Line 4. If you walk in the middle and report to the prince, he will follow. It furthers one to be used in the removal of the capital. As mentioned in the previous line, the prince refers to the helper that moves a person's fate in the right direction. This helper follows the person who has used the cosmic gift, see line 3, in a harmonious way in order to help him as needed. This shows the cosmic principle that the person who corrects his mistaken ideas experiences an overall increase. Walking in the middle refers to being in harmony with the cosmic whole and not being caught up in the world of dualities, which constitutes the parallel reality created by the collective ego. The second part of the line text refers to a person who has falsely obtained material wealth through the use of power in one form or another, and who may be thinking that he has earned it. The capital is a metaphor for the ego, which has put itself in the center of the wealth he has stolen from nature. The line is telling him that if he allows himself to be used to remove the capital, the ego, and be responsible for the wealth, he can retain it. He needs, however, to examine whether he has taken on feelings of guilt in relation to the material wealth he has accumulated. If so, he needs to extinguish a guilt spell he has put on himself and on others. This line also hints at the misfortune that awaits the person who, on having attained substantial material wealth, makes no attempt to remove the ego, but spends his energies in accumulating still more wealth. Line 5. If in truth you have a kind heart, there will be supreme good fortune, and kindness will be recognized as your virtue. This line answers a person's inner question. Will I have good fortune? By saying, yes, if indeed you have a kind heart. This line iterates the cosmic principle that the kindness arising from a person's true nature attracts the helper of increase. This sort of kindness, which is intrinsic to his nature, does not reward or encourage the ego in others as cultivated kindness does. This line is also stating that the cosmos gives its gifts to a person's true self and not the ego in him, thus helps him to throw off the ego. By contrast, the kindness described as the mark of a cultured person is not true kindness, but the result of conditioning. The collective ego, by a sleight of hand trick, falsely appropriates a person's natural kindness by denying that kindness is one of his cosmic virtues. It then holds kindness up as an abstract virtue to be obtained through cultivation, while slandering nature, the cosmos, as unkind and uncultivated. When a person seeks recognition for his virtues, it is always an indication that these virtues have already been appropriated by the ego and that he is merely cultivating a virtuous self-image. Supreme good fortune refers to the blessings of the cosmos that come to the person who does not seek recognition for his kind deeds, but in doing them. Supreme good fortune refers to the blessings of the cosmos that come to the person who does not seek recognition for his kind deeds, but in doing them, completely lets go of them. Such deeds nourish the person who does them as well as the receiving party. The person receiving this line may need to ask whether he has accepted the self-image of someone who has a kind heart, or whether somebody has put a spell on him by saying he is that sort of a person. In the latter case, the other is seeking to take advantage of his self-image. See page 541, Freeing Yourself from Self-Images. True kindness is expressed in gratitude that comes from the heart as wonderment and enjoyment of the gifts of the cosmos. It is not something a person can cultivate because it is a spontaneous response to the constant stream of gifts and help that comes from the cosmos. Line 6. He brings increase to no one. Indeed, someone even strikes him. He does not keep his heart constantly steady. Misfortune. He brings increase to no one refers to the ego, which can never bring true increase, neither to the individual nor to the whole, despite its claim that the opposite is true. A person who has been increased by the cosmos has allowed the ego to appropriate that increase, thus caused a fate. The ego calls that fate bad luck. In search of a scapegoat, the ego, in its typical sleight of hand logic, now tells the person that the bad luck is his own fault, and claims that things would have worked out better if he had only trusted the ego's advice more. He does not keep his heart constantly steady, refers to the person's accepting the blame put on him by the ego, and then indulging in thinking, I should have done this, I should have done that. What he really needs to do is to stop indulging in self-blame and to seek out the cause of his mistake. When he is willing to do this, the sage will return to help him. The first step in this recovery is to rid himself of the poisoned arrow of self-blame. He then needs to identify and rid himself of the mistaken ideas and beliefs that have led him to depend on the ego. See page 540, Freeing Yourself from Seed Phrases and Images. Also see page 550, Deprogramming Procedure. This line can also refer to a person who does not attract the helper of increase because he believes that increase is a matter of chance, and so tries to influence chance through bribing the arbiter of chance as, for example, by giving gifts to charity. In the way of the cosmos, there is no such thing as chance or luck. The good fortune mentioned in the I Ching lines refer to the cosmic gifts that are given to a person's true self as an opportunity for him to learn how the cosmos really operates. Mistaken beliefs in chance are expressed by such phrases as chance rules our lives, chance is the final arbiter, chance will decide, seize the chance. To open the door to the helper of increase, a person needs to rid himself of the idea of chance and all related ideas and beliefs that he may hold. Also, part of the mistaken beliefs, let's read that last line before. To open the door to the helper of increase, a person needs to rid himself of the idea of chance and all related ideas and beliefs he may hold. Also, part of the mistaken beliefs addressed by this line is that increase does not last, as in the phrase, seize the moment. This belief would have us believe that increase is invariably followed by decrease, while in truth, this is the case only when we believe that nature and the cosmos work through changes. When the mistaken belief projects itself into reality, the helper of increase is invariably attracted by a harmonious attitude and stays with that person as long as he remains in harmony with the cosmos. Decrease, on the other hand, invariably occurs when a person has created increase through wrong means and then uses it for egotistical purposes. Great. 42. And here come the Contemplations. Let's come back to the start of this one. Now, thank you for listening to all that. If you don't want to listen to the Contemplations, great, cool. You can drop off and choose another video or keep listening. I'd love for you to listen and no pressure. Sometimes the integration can come through the Contemplations because I speak to life experience, I speak to other things. And I called in this hexagram through the RTCM on the 25th of January and the 14th of February. So twice this year, one with no lines and then on the 14th of February with lines 2 and line 4. And if you're not familiar how to call a hexagram, there's a video in here on how to use the RTCM to do that, I'm pretty sure. And you can go check that out. Otherwise, get the book. Get it on Kindle. You choose to get the physical copy. It's quite a big one and can be awkward to read. I just prefer the Kindle, but you need to trust yourself and get whatever you want to. Get whatever you want to get. But in that, you develop a relationship with the I Ching. You develop a relationship with the sage. You develop a relationship with the helpers and the wisdom that's held in this, in these words. So, increasing. Now, my journey with this. So, there'll be moments when I am gifted money by clients or exchange. And what shows up is what's been showing up more recently, because my cash flow has gotten very low. I've got savings as backup, but I don't like using my savings. I much prefer to have the cash flow. And if you operate your own business, you'll understand what cash flow and the importance of cash flow is in a business. For example, when I transitioned out of a corporate 9-to-5 job, my cash flow was steady. In Australia, you can't just be fired on the spot. There's a whole process to go through, especially if you're a full-time employee. So you rest on the laurels of having this consistent income. And the challenge for a lot of people who are stepping out of a corporate or a 9-to-5 type situation and wanting to work for themselves is organizing their own cash flow. So what happens is, well, right now my cash flow is low, so I delay paying all of my bills. And I just be in the discomfort of, there's people want money here, there's rent, there's this, there's that, and just let go. Because in the past, when I've run low on cash flow, I panic. Like I go and research, how can I ask ChatGPT? How can I get more clients? I check out Gary Vaynerchuk or Alex Hormozi or some other famous internet celebrity that knows how to run businesses, or some business coach or something else. And while those may have helped me in the beginning, and I've developed my own style of sales and marketing since, when you panic, when you're in that state of grinding, like the grind set. I don't know if you're familiar with the term grind set. Like you've got mindset, you've got grind set. It's very big in the entrepreneurial world. Or if you're one night build a big body or build a big business, you've got to have that grind set. Get up at 5 a.m., go to the gym at 4 a.m., go to start work at 7 a.m., have somebody else make your breakfast. Classic Alex Hormozi, pay somebody else to do all the stuff that you don't want to do. It's helpful if you have the cash flow, and it might not be your own truth, like this hexagram speaks to. When we copy somebody else, when we copy what somebody else has done to achieve their success, we don't know what fates are attached to their success, if any at all. So this whole I Ching and the wisdom here, and the wisdom of the 5 personality patterns and the survival strategies is about being able to come back into yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? How do you want to show up in love? How do you want to show up in life, in business, in sharing your cosmic gifts? Some of the people that come to me, usually working with me for 12 months, have struggled with, I'm just putting if you hear that sound then, it's me putting my leg up on my stool and putting my hand up on my arm on my elbow. Some of the people that come to me for 12 months, they want to learn their spiritual gifts. Like, John, I feel like I have this spiritual gift and I can't unlock it. I can't tap into whatever this is that's here. And what's common is that they've done a lot of courses, and in these courses, they've learnt all these other techniques of how to coach, or how to do Reiki, or how to do body work, or body psychotherapy, or how to do psychology, or mentorship, or therapy, or something, right? They've learned how to do something, or NLP, or the spiral, or landmark, or whatever it is, and they've learned this certification. And what happens is, when you acquire a certification, the ego gets really attached to it. Not making the ego a culprit, but that's just the nature of ego, is that it wants to attach itself to the qualification, and then you have to build whatever that is into the business. Like, you just feel compelled to do it. because to step out and do your own thing, to actually stand in the truth of who you really are, invites all those uncomfortable sensations in the body of, oh, I'm unsure about this. You can only make money if you're qualified. People are only going to want to come to you if you're qualified. No one's going to come if you share your own gifts. And you might feel that in the beginning. And these are seed phrases and poison arrows that get thrown on us, that you have to be qualified, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to know how to do this, right? And you really need to tune into who you are in order to accept and do those things. Because maybe you do need to go into further study. Maybe there is something in there for you. And when you're sincere, when you're modest in how you're making those decisions, the clarity is found through thinking and feeling, and being mindful of how the ego will grab onto those feelings. Like if you feel angry or frustrated, the ego will be like, oh, great, I'll have some of that, and then just spiral you. But when you can come back into the body, when you can center yourself and feel yourself, and just segueing over to the personality pattern, the leaving pattern or the schizoid pattern can be quite challenged to ground themselves because they are upwardly displaced. The leaving pattern will go into the head. They will feel this sense of uncertainty, and they'll just go straight into intellectualizing. They'll go straight into logic, straight into strategy, because the discomfort of being real with their feelings, of being really here now and stepping forward from an open place of not having the answer and not having the solution and not having a strategy or a plan is very uncomfortable. But when we invite help from the cosmos and the cosmic helpers, that changes, that dynamic shifts. So doubling back to my example here is that I listen to, what do I need to create now? There's certain things that I've shelved that I want to do. Right? For example, I want to create a Aligned Attractions Foundations course, which is an online course that people can do. So it's a little bit more entry, like a low-hanging fruit type offer. I'm wrapping up my pocketbook right now, which is a now book. My landlord, who's become a great friend and mentor, has encouraged me. He's written many books on team building, and he's worked for some huge companies in Australia like BHP and BlueScope Steel, and work with engineers and work with engineers and maintenance personnel and operations managers to help deal with shutdowns and repairs and rebuilds. But he's a huge assortment of knowledge, and he's written lots of books. And he said to me, John, I think you've got a book in you. You doesn't have to write the whole thing. It could just be a now book. Pocket book, short book, like 48 pages. So I'm drafting that right now. I'm wrapping up that right now. Got some pictures to take of myself. I'm going to do a crowdfunding thing for it. Very exciting. I haven't done anything like that before, but I feel that feels like what I want to do. And in all of that, what I see is I compare myself to other people who might have a larger following, or have already written their own book, or have written multiple books, or who get like more follows on Facebook, or more likes on Facebook, or more whatever it is. And for me, I remember as I was contemplating this hexagram, I remember telling someone that was paying like, what was I paying him? Like $1,200 a month to sort out my social media. $1,200 US. And was it 1,500? Or was it 16? I can't remember. It was 12. And he said to me, John, what would you love? So I want to be famous. I said, I want to be famous. This is before I did the I Ching. I want to be famous. I want to walk down the street and I want people to recognize me. I'm like, oh, wow. And after reading the I Ching, I'm like, wow, that's such vanity for me. And I think I mentioned in the last hexagram that in the gene keys, gene key 12 is a very fascinating key to contemplate around vanity. Because as far as being spiritual is concerned, the ego can hijack that we are so spiritual, and vanity takes over. And even in the Devil's Advocate, vanity is one of Al Pacino. Was it Al Pacino? Al Pacino's favorite sins. I remember a scene in the movie. It's like, vanity is one of my favorite sins because it gets us. Vanity is one of those things that slips in the back door. And for the rigid survival pattern, which I carry and shows up in my life, is very vanity focused, very forward facing focused. Even just looking at myself on the camera, I can feel like, I want to play with my hair. I cleaned my blue blocking glasses because my son just had them before and got his greasy hands all over them. So I don't want to have any smear marks on my glasses. I'm wearing my Peter Alexander. I think they're Peter Alexander. But you see, just naming the brand, right? Who gives a toss, right? So it just comes out. Pajamas. Where to go here? Activity that is accomplished jointly with the helpers succeeds because it gives expression to a person's uniqueness and benefits the cosmic whole. So when we go and get these qualifications, you're not unique. You're not being unique. You're being homogenized. You're being homogenized. You end up setting your payment structure like everybody else's payment structure. For example, other clients in the past, when they've asked, how much do you cost, John? I've had a client that frequents a psychiatrist, and for some time his mum was paying because he himself wasn't allowed to have money because he'd spend it on drugs. And when I told him the price and he told his mum, the feedback came from his mum back through to him. It was like, oh, you're more expensive than a psychiatrist. I am. I am more expensive than a psychiatrist. I'm cheaper than a obituary, though, because what shows up here is when you start working per hour, when you come out of the 9 to 5, you're a bit more relaxed about spending larger amounts of money because you understand money comes and goes. You understand cash flow. But when you're stuck in that 9 to 5, when you're working for somebody else, like working hard for somebody else, your relationship with money is a little bit different. But doubling back to this is that the one session that we had, or the couple of sessions that we had, completely changed his life. Why? Because I'm not a psychiatrist. Because I'm not diagnosing him and keeping him in a box, which is in the context of the DSM, it's spellcasting. It's poison arrows. If you ask a psychiatrist, when did you heal someone last? When have you cured someone? They don't. They're not here for cures. They're here for treatment. And that's not to say that all psychiatrists are like that, and the field of psychiatry is like that. Some people do need medication to improve their quality of life, and some people don't. And finding that balance really simmers down to the psychiatrist that you're dealing with. For example, I have in my aligned attraction true love protocol, I have a client who just swapped over psychiatrists, and she loves the new psychiatrist because he wants to taper her off her meds. And the psychiatrist is working with the GP to help do that. She's so excited. She never thought that this was possible for her. And her whole life is shifting in the 3 weeks that she started working with me. Her entire life has been not put on its head, but pivoted. Because you commit. And this is when someone is sincere. When someone is sincere and they commit to whatever they're here to commit to, everything becomes an increase. And being able to share that increase with others, if that feels what you're called to do, increases the whole. This potential first exists as a feeling, then as an image in the invisible world of the thinking consciousness. This is really, 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 really important, okay? This potential, this is talking about the aid of the helpers is essential to all activities that lead to increase because they alone are able to make the transformations in the atomic realm that give actuality to what is potential. The atomic realm, atomic realm, quantum realm. And this is beyond quantum physics or those ridiculous quantum meditations. And I say ridiculous because they are ridiculous, where you try and visualize and create, manifest your destiny, because you're doing it on your own brute force. That's why these things can work in the short term, but then you ricochet back. You rebound back because you're not doing it in harmony with the whole. This potential first exists as a feeling. So in order to exact the feeling, one needs to be present to their feelings. I'll say that again. For one to exact the feeling of the potential, one needs to be aware of their feeling, of the body, of what's going on. And if you are numb, if you are armored, if you have excess adipose tissue, if you're someone who cannot feel the vitality of life and your sexuality and all that it means to be you to flow through you, you will be numb to the feeling. So being able to ask the helper of transformation, being able to ask the sage, who do I see? Who do I help? What of the helpers out there, how can someone help free me from this numbing, from this armoring, from this way of being that's holding me back? And it is a holding back, rigid hold back. They've learned to hold back because the truth of who they really are was scary to their parents, their creativity, their way of being, their questioning of the rules. Does it come from the envy of others who seem to be better off? Is he in the habit of thinking poor, as in thinking that he is unworthy to have enough money and goods to live a happy life, or that to have money and goods is materialistic and therefore aspiritual? And this is a clicky one for those who are trying to deploy Eastern mysticism or Eastern techniques into a Western world. And we shun the billionaires, right? We shun the millionaires, we shun people who don't pay tax or avoid tax, right? The mining magnates who somehow manage to not pay any tax. We don't know what's going on in their life. We just see the outside. Our ego is attached to whatever their external image is, or whatever their perceived image is. So when we start saying no, an inner no to the envy, an inner no to the voice that says, oh, that's materialistic, like buying a new couch, buying a new car, investing in yourself, right? Spending more than 5 figures on something, whether it's a house, a car, mentorship. The gift-giving nature of the cosmos. And then you've also got the money side of things, where money is the root of all evil, is it? Just poison spelled money. Darted it, Gave it its own self-image. Money is the root of all evil, is it? And it certainly can be the volume control on the shadow and the lower self, but doesn't necessarily mean it's the root of all evil, right? So these things that are said to us, or we just pick up that helps the ego latch onto it, right? Oh, this is that thing. The collective ego, on the other hand, defines increase as acquiring wealth, luxury, power, fame, and knowledge. Something that shows up for a lot of people is like, well, do you buy insurance? Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I just ask my body. I do the thinking and feeling. I find the clarity. Do I want to save up to buy a house? I do and I don't. I've done that buy the house thing based on the collective ego, 9 to 5, get the deposit, stay at home as long as I could, put my first house at 26, my unit at 26, sold it. But I did all that, I did the collective ego thing. And right now I'm like, I don't need to save up for a house. It's not a priority. So squirreling money away out of fear, or doing that kind of thing out of fear, just has a fate attached. It ends up being drained. Because there's a fate attached. because you're afraid to trust. You're afraid to ask for help. So in that fear, in that uncertainty, we cling. We cling to what we know. We cling to what other people think about us. Oh, you got to save money. Got to make sure you get that death and what is it? Income coverage insurance. Really? What happens if, for example, what happens if I die and then there is no money to pass to Cassie and my kids, and that was what was required, because sometimes money can actually get us into more trouble in quotation marks. It can sometimes buy us time, and it can also get us into a lot of trouble. For example, when I was in my 9 to 5 and in a very abusive relationship, abusive in quotations, I was spending a lot of money to avoid just exiting the relationship. At one point, I was driving her car and the engine overheated, and it overheated because there was no water in the radiator. I didn't know there was any water in the radiator, but anyway. So she went to get some water from a creek nearby and then topped it up in the car and potentially cracked the head gasket. And they ended up spending thousands of dollars trying to repair this bomb of a car because they had her artwork on it. But I didn't want to be in that relationship. I was ignoring all of my body signals, but I stayed out of guilt. Oh, I've wrecked a car. I should really pay for that. No, maybe the car needed to be wrecked. Maybe I didn't want to be in the relationship in the first place. When you support someone who's helpless, when you support someone who can't take care of themselves and you're not checking in with your common senses, you incur their fate. I'll say that again. You incur their fate. You incur somebody else's fate when you are helping them out of helplessness or guilt. Okay? Be aware of those sensations, particularly in your attraction mechanics. This is part of love mapping. Right? You need to be aware of your body. If you're someone who likes to feel useful, which I did in relationships, as long as you're being useful, I'm helping this person. But in that, you just subscribe to helpless people that can't get their lives in order. They can't contribute to building a life together because they're just so helpless. Right? Bit of a segue there into love mapping. What else have we got in here that stands out? When receiving this line before an undertaking that involves other people, it indicates that the person needs to call on the sage in his own presence and in the other people's presence to prepare the situation. Then the sages can take over and guide the affairs. The sage also draws the other cosmic helpers that are needed to create the results that have duration. This is so important, and this might sound ridiculously woo-woo, but through the invisible world, at the atomic level, there are communications that are happening. And there's another technique, if you choose to have a look at it, called the Court of Atonement. The Court of Atonement. Go and Google it right now. Court of Atonement, if you want to, if you feel called to it. And there's all these sayings and seed phrases that you can put in there to help get clearance. It's like a court where, as it says, court, where you can put people and feelings and money and a whole assortment of things in your life into this court, and they resolve themselves. It's not part of the I Ching work. It's another style of work that you might feel called for. Maybe you just wanted to listen to this part of the video for me to say that. Like, great, John. That's what I needed to hear. I can feel completion. I'm off to look at the Court of Atonement now. Great, go and do it, okay? Because they're in the invisible world. Things happen beyond our thinking. Things happen beyond our feeling. But being able to just say the thing and not watch. It's the watching, it's the witnessing of the quantum realm that traps it into place, that locks it into place. So if you feel called to do this and you ask the RTCM, or you feel just genuinely called, I'm compelled to talk to the sage in my presence, and then request the sage in other people's presence in the conversation that I'm about to have, to bring remediation, to make sure this is an increase for the whole, to prepare the situation. The sages can take over and guide the affairs. And then when you learn how to speak your truth if the situation requires speech, then it's wholesome. It's all you. It's sincere. It's modest. And the outcome will be the outcome. But you know that you've done your best. You've been sincere. Which is why learning how to use the RTCM, if you're going to seek this Oracle of the Cosmic Way as an area of study for you, is so important. Have three coins nearby. Write down what you're doing. Make sure that the question that you ask the sage is phrased in a yes or no. Is this? Should I talk to this person? Should I contemplate? Should I talk to the sage and the others? Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Yes, yes, no. No, no, yes. You will get your answer. What is the no? What is the yes? Is there something missing? Is there a hexagram that can help me here? Do I need to stop contacting you? Because sometimes we can start this feeling, we can start to panic, especially in the leaving pattern or the rigid pattern, where you're looking for the answer or you're looking for the right way. And we get trapped in the pattern of how we've survived. But the sage doesn't want that. The sage wants us to be able to trust ourselves, be able to lean into life, right? And the sage makes himself available to that, for that. What else have I got here? Okay. The collective ego would deny that he has them in order to appropriate and turn them into its purposes, the cosmic qualities and talents that we've come with at birth as cosmic gifts. Okay. You are not special, you are unique. You are unique. There's a difference between special and unique. This is why life is the gift. Everybody on the planet is unique. However they choose to use their cosmic gifts is up to them. What shows up is the collective ego, operating through the ego in others, will deny that these gifts exist and will tell you that you need to go get qualified, that you need to do it this way in order to be famous, to get the money, to get the wealth, to get the house, to get the money, to get the house, to get the money, to get the investments, to feel safe. Even though you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe now with maybe not the money that you want, you're not going to feel safe genuinely. It'll be a fake safety, a faux safety when the money does arrive. And I've been there. I've had 400k in the bank and still felt unsafe. I needed to go through that porthole of having $2,000 to go from 400k to 2k and to $500. To know that, oh, okay, look, this is my central nervous system needed to feel that. In reality, I needed to have the reality check that I was running out of money and I needed help. And there's people that come into our lives that are agents of the cosmic helpers. And all of my mentors have been that for me. All of my mentors have been that for me. But then knowing when, okay, this is now an ego thing. This is now an appropriation thing where I'm outsourcing to this person, and then the connection needs to be put to rest. And that's how I ended my last mentorship. I asked the I Ching. It was a really hard one to end because I loved the guy, right? I loved working with him. It's so good. And those are the hardest relationships to end, including lovers. You know, those relationships that you get into where there's nothing really wrong, but it doesn't feel quite right. Like there's no drama. No, there's no real, fighting all the time. But it just feels off. It's like I don't really want to build a life with you. And sometimes it takes like 6 months 9 months in to be like, you know what? I know I said I wanted this, but it's just not right. Something's off. I'm not being honest with myself. I'd be lying if I said I wanted to continue this. Those are the hardest ones to end. He has received what he was attached to having, but through the decrease of others. Money may have been the object of his desire, and he has now received it. However, because his motives were not correct, blame was attached and a fate created. This blame can be extinguished if he is sincere in allowing himself to be guided by the helper of increase to use the money to benefit the cosmic whole. And this is where I'm at right now. I know I got line 2 and line 4, but when I do these contemplations, I'm like, okay, let's open up the entire hexagram for me. I can feel it in my body. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So how do I know I'm spending my money to the benefit of the cosmic whole? What is the cosmic whole? What does that mean? Is the cosmic whole humanity? Do I need to donate my money to a charity? We just don't have to. And this I Ching, this hexagram speaks to it. We assume that that's what we're supposed to do. You've got to donate it. Be altruistic. Altruistic. Be philanthropic. But there's a fate attached. You're not doing it genuinely, not being sincere. Right? So for me in my journey in this, I'm going to develop a relationship with the helper of increase, which sounds like it's the helper of transformation with a different hat on. And what's important here is the change versus transformation. And the I Ching can be translated into the Book of Changes or the Book of Transformation. And change is just one thing into another. Transformation, you can't go back. Right? Change can go back. Change it from one thing to the next thing, change back. Transformation's one way. And that's why this is important to land in your body. Is that when you learn what you learn from this body of work and the Reichian lineage body of work, there is no going back. And that can be scary for people who still have one foot in the old world. Not that the old world is bad, but it comes with more fates attached. And fates can come in many different ways and can show up in many ways and shapes and forms, from relationships to finance to health to accommodation to environment. After being healed, however, he returns to the arrogant attitudes he formerly held, such as thinking his healing was due to his deserving it, that he had a right to be healed, or that he can act as he pleases, as when, after recovering from a respiratory illness, the person returns to smoking pot or other abuse of his body. I'm fascinated that the I Ching speaks to smoking pot, because I speak specifically to smoking pot. And if you're listening to this, pot, particularly smoking pot, weed, rolls back the body to whatever somatic advancement that you've gone through. Like, and I've spoken about this for years, because I could tell in clients when they've been smoking pot, it feels like they've rolled back a couple of months of all of our progress. They're not as sharp, they're a little bit trying to be a little bit cheeky. And for me, the spirit of pot, of weed, is the devouring mother, because she just makes everything okay. It's like, oh, just make everything okay. Now, I've had housemates who've smoked pot, and you can just see that. Well, they say, oh, it helps my creativity. Sure. But if you can't be creative sober, then something else is fundamentally wrong. You're holding back. So a lot of rigids think that smoking pot helps them. Doesn't. In the long term, it's a short-term band-aid fix, and they become dependent on it because it helps alleviate the tension and the stress that the rigid pattern puts on people. It can also make the leaving pattern person feel like they're more at home, more welcome. Hey, easy. It's easy, man. Yeah, come on over here. Pass the putty on the left-hand side. I can't remember the lyric. But why this is so important is because this deserving it, this entitlement, I'm actually doing a Substack next week on, I'm pretty sure I'll do this one. Entitlement is psychic abuse. And deserving, no one deserves anything. Right? Anything. No one deserves anything. That you have a right to be healed. You don't. The gift is life. The gift is life. And how you frame that is really up to you. So, for example, people that biohack and then, oh, I deserve this because I've been working so hard. No, you don't. You're throwing that healing journey that you've just been through in everybody's face that have helped you, right? You're disrespecting the other people's vitality. You're disrespecting the energy that people have given you, right? Because you want to smoke pot, or you want to go back to some other abuse of your body, right? The helper that moves a person's fate in the right direction. So, the helpers, there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of helpers. Pretty sure I did a separate video on the helpers. And why this is important is because the I Ching will tell you the names of helpers, but not necessarily give them names. For example, this is one. Helper that moves a person's fate in the right direction. The name is not helper of all things, helper of direction, helper of transformation, like helper of, putting your shoes on. It's got its own name that's more Englishly verbose. Right? It's got a lot of words in it. And you will find your own helpers that you will give names to. For example, I want the helper of clarity. I really love the helper of clarity to help me find out what's going on here. The helper of transformation, the cosmic army. Like if you have if you're being cascaded by impure thoughts, I call in the helper of cosmic army. Because when you're on social media and you happen to flick onto a video, you can feel your body contracting. You're like, oh, I feel dirty. I shouldn't have watched that. Like, cool, call the helper in the cosmic army. Just take that image away from me. Right? And there can also be a lower self component in that. But that's more advanced practices. This shows the cosmic principle that the person who corrects his mistaken ideas experiences an overall increase. So, being aware of what you're doing, being introspective of am I using my gifts for what they're here for? What am I really doing? Am I just helping certain people that do X or Y or Z? Am I holding back? Am I waiting for something? Am I waiting for some kind of safety or sign before I actually do the things? This line also hints at the misfortune that awaits the person who, on having attained substantial material wealth, makes no attempt to remove the ego, but spends his energies in accumulating still more wealth. So what's important here is that we can talk to the sage in the other person's presence of people that we might think are doing this. This is a very powerful. It's a way of being. It's just a way of being. Where if you feel that's what you can do or want to do, then you can do that. Maybe nothing happens, but you're not supposed to watch what happens. For example, you could talk to the sage in the presence of Elon Musk or somebody else who has a name that you know of, like the Rothschilds or J.P. Morgan, or you can ask find a helper that can help you find the names of the people that helper of the names. Ask the helper of the names to help bring to you a name of a person where the sage can be spoken to about this particular pattern of the ego. Just accumulating more wealth, because we can see that wealth divide. Not that the wealth divide is a bad thing, because sometimes you need to take initiative to actually bring your gifts into the world. You might find that wealth divide is a symptom of living outside of cosmic harmony, where the people that do generate a lot of wealth are doing what they're really good at, whether it's investing in things, whether it's building businesses, whether it's something else. But if they've reached that limit of, well, I have so much wealth now, I'm just going to, it's never enough. There's just never enough, which is a merging survival pattern thing, pre-verbal. It's never enough, which also doubles down on entitlement. I deserve this. Like, this is for my family. We deserve to be in charge. We deserve to have all this wealth. We deserve to have all this property. We've done the hard yards of amassing the wealth. This is the kind of abilities that are available to us through using the I Ching. It might sound a little bit crazy, but I've seen it work. Here we go. The collective ego, by a sleight of hand trick, falsely appropriates a person's natural kindness by denying that kindness is one of his cosmic virtues. So, being able to know what your virtuous self-image is, right? So, for example, there's people that I will work with pro bono throughout the year. I don't expect anything from them. I don't expect the work, whatever I do with them, to go anywhere. I just know, cool, I need to spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours with this person, however long it feels until it comes to completion, and it ends for me. I don't expect them to sign up next week or do whatever. Like, a lot of my clients have come through me that way by just me going, like, cool, let's hang out, let's have a conversation, especially people that come from sales and marketing. They can smell a sales and marketing type setup. I don't want to do that. I'm not one of those people. I want to have my own bespoke conversation with John and choose internally whether it's in alignment or not. Right? But in that, I needed to kill this version, this kind version of me, where, you gotta give to get. Merging pattern, gotta give to get. Very, very merging and very compensated merging. You got to know, this is the feeling that's in the body. True kindness is expressed in gratitude that comes from the heart as wonderment and enjoyment of the gifts of the cosmos. It is not something a person can cultivate because it is a spontaneous response to the constant stream of gifts and help that comes from the cosmos. Right? Your feeling body needs to be aware of these gifts that come in. If you have high degrees of self-hatred, it's like trying to squeeze the last drop of toothpaste out of the tube. See if I can get that last molecule of toothpaste out of my tube. Doesn't it flow freely? When you get that brand new tube of toothpaste and you put it on your toothbrush, like, yeah, I can squeeze from anywhere and I know I'm going to get toothpaste on this brush. But if your body is armored, if you're disconnected from your vitality, your chi, your prana, your sexual vitality, your libido, the Reichian version of libido, not Freud, right? Your libido, your orgastic potency, then the universe could be pouring water on you when you're parched, and you will not be able to receive the shower. Okay, you will not be able to receive the shower because your body is armored. It's armored in resentment. It's armored in I deserve this. It's armored in I've got to wait until this thing happens before there's the bargaining. I can only be happy when this happens. I can only do this thing when this thing happens. And that might be true. But you got to be really honest with yourself. Yeah. Stop indulging in self-blame and seek to cause out the causes of mistakes. So this is the big one for me, and this is very much more a rigid survival pattern piece, which is where you blame yourself for your unsuccess. Okay, you're brutal. You're brutal. You're mean to yourself, and this comes from a survival strategy from parenthood. It's like, it's all your fault. You didn't do well at school. You should do better. Not questioning that maybe school's not the thing for me. Maybe studying for 13 hours a day or 12 hours a day is healthy for me. A lot of us have been through that. More people are coming out the back of this, the next generation, realizing that school's actually not that great. And people that are listening to this who remember or who know the history of school in its current form, it still holds the same roots. We've just grafted a few more things on it, but the roots are the same, of trying to create a civilization of children that are obedient, that can be slotted into factory jobs to maintain the system, right? But this is about uprooting the whole tree This is what we're talking about here, is that this way of living and moving forward is information is no longer gate-kept by teachers. Learning is no longer gate-kept by schooling systems. Learning is going to become something that's much more organic. We might have kids that are unable to write or have some other abilities, not know how to write cursive, not know how to cosine a triangle, maybe miss a little bit of history. History is important, but it's not something that they really need. So much of the stuff, and a lot of you that are listening to this, we've completely forgotten what you've learnt in school, except for the horrible things, being bullied or maybe some awards ceremony. But it's not helpful, right? But in that, when you're made wrong, when the teacher doesn't look at themselves, when the system isn't open to question, when you're revolving door teachers who get to transfer because they're no good, and you're there in a school uniform that's uncomfortable, in uncomfortable chairs, and you're forced to switch subjects every 40 minutes or whatever it is, it's not how the body is. It's not how the body has evolved to learn. So we blame ourselves. Why did you get that D, John? You should have got an A. Oh, John, you could achieve so much more. Like, I didn't even try for 70%. Like 70% was my baseline, and that's a lot of people just go through life at 70%. Because to step into that 20% would mean that I have to have a look at, well, why is 70 so safe for me? What can't I do the other 20%? Well, 30%. Why can't I give 100%? So for me, that 70% was working for other people. Like, I could turn other people's businesses around. Like any project that I got thrown on would flourish. But then when I tried to go out on my own, that's where the 30% comes in that kind of derails you. And in that self-blame, I did more study, tried to work out what was wrong. But it wasn't until someone revealed to me that I am being quite hard on myself. And it's okay not to know. But when you ask for help, when you're sincere in the help, the right people come. I know for me, when my coach gave me that deal, it was 15 grand. I've probably spoken about it before. 15 grand when I had 2 grand in the bank. So just give me 15 of that 2 grand. Pay for your rent for the week. My rent was like $480 a week. And we'll turn this whole thing around. And then within a short amount of time, I'd cleared that 15K. It was either 30 or 60K in the first 4 months. But that was because I was sincere. And there was leverage for me to do anything. I'd do anything. I would be sincere. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. Right? And that's where the truth comes in. When someone's ready to really surrender to life, I'll do whatever you tell me. I'll do it. I'll go here. I'll travel here. Right? I'll leave the country. I'll sell my stuff. I'll end that relationship. I'll start that relationship. This line can also refer to a person who does not attract the helper of increase because he believes that increase is a matter of chance, and so tries to influence chance through bribing the arbiter of chance, as for example, by giving gifts to charity. And this is the guilt chest that I see a lot of philanthropists use, or people who have an excess because they haven't reconciled that I'm allowed to have this money, or they've got that remainder of feeling that I've actually, I don't need any more money, but I'm going to get more. So we try and give it away. It's a fate attached to that, right? You can't rid yourself of it by bribing the universe, effectively, by bribing some charity. The helper of increase is invariably attracted by a harmonious attitude and stays with that person as long as he remains in harmony with the cosmos. And that really is the crux of the whole thing. Is how do you know when you're in harmony with the cosmos? Because it's an individual metric. Your living signal will guide you whether or not you're in harmony with the cosmos. And to be in harmony with the cosmos, you might not be in harmony with the ego or the collective ego, or what other people think are the metrics of success. Because it's your relationship with the cosmos That's why I love this Oracle of the Cosmic Way so much, because it really draws down into like your personal relationship with, in quotations, God, with quotations, cosmos, quotations, yourself. It's not about praying and being seen to pray about things, or quoting verses like it's doctrine, like it's organic. And with the RTCM, you get shown the words, the sentences, the paragraphs that relate to your current issue. Like for me, like I'll break it down. Like I might get the same hexagram again, and I'll be like, cool, it's this line. Okay, within that line, which paragraphs within that paragraph are the sentences that I need to pay attention to. Sometimes it's just the judgment of the line or the hexagram, because it's open to interpretation. It's feeling, because the words have feeling attached. That's why I love this. I love this so much. It's beyond this. It's beyond the words. It's the semantics too. And if you're here for semantics, well, definitely in the right place. Well, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this was of benefit to you and you thoroughly enjoyed it, like I thoroughly enjoyed sharing this with you. I hope you have an amazing weekend, an amazing week, an amazing month, an amazing year, and be open to life. If this was, whatever you got from this, if you want to like it, put a comment down what landed for you or didn't land for you, or if there's something that you'd like me to expand upon, then let me know. I love questions. And I hope you're enjoying your journey and your relationship with the Sage and the Oracle of the Cosmic Way. Mad love. Bye.